welcome to Branscum Farm. We are doing a collaboration with 15 questions for homesteaders. So the first question is, what is the biggest mistake new homesteaders make?
I would have to say that the biggest mistake that I know a lot of the homesteaders that we know have made and that we have made is trying to go a bit too big too fast. You need to set a goal, an easily attainable goal, and take it in baby steps, one step at a time.
Yes, I agree. I think even with our experiences, if you're not ready for an animal, don't get it just because you think it's cute and a good idea. Question number 2 is, what advice would you give to a new homesteader?
Do you want to or you want me to?
I can go. Sure. I say make sure you research what you want to do with your homestead. See the cost in it, what all equipment you need. Make sure you have the even the land to have those animals or whatever you want to do.
You should also reach out to people in your area that have done what you're looking to do. Believe it or not, there are lots of people out there that have done. You're not the first to get the idea to do something. So yeah, reaching out on top of doing your own research, reaching out to people and finding out what kind of obstacles they faced and what their solutions were is definitely a good idea. Question 3, what is your favorite animal that you've ever raised? I'm going to go with probably rabbits, since that's pretty much all we do. We attempted chickens, and even though we still have a few, things just haven't really worked out with those. And yeah, where we're located at, it's just not ideal for chickens because we just don't have the space.
Yeah, I definitely like the rabbits. 4, what is your favorite vegetable that you've ever raised?
Well, I just really like tomatoes, even though the last couple of gardens we've had really bad luck with. Squirrels got into our first one, and it was, even though we had a lot of growing out stuff, it all ended up devoured before we could get it off the vine. But yeah, I really like tomatoes, so that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'll probably go with the squash or the cucumbers, just because they did really good, and we had plenty, and there was lots of recipes I looked up for the squash, and I just really like eating cucumbers just as they are.
What was your best day on your homestead ever?
Mine was probably when we brought the rabbits home, the first rabbits we had.
Yeah, I figure actually for her, it was probably the first batch of babies that we had. Because she tried, when we first got started, it was really difficult to get a pregnancy to take. And when we finally got one to take, after a while, and she got that first batch of babies, she was just super excited.
That was exciting. A baby's being born is still exciting every time. Number 6, what is your worst day on the homestead ever?
This goes back to our garden that we did really well on our first garden, and it was so big and everything was growing, it was doing so great, and then we had squirrels just annihilated it, like wiped it out in like a week, didn't even have a chance. I work all over the state. I wasn't home really to deal with it, and
it was sad.
Yeah, so we just got decimated, and we were really looking forward to it because we had all these good-looking vegetables and stuff growing. Yeah. So, which it was a small garden, so just losing half of it was like losing pretty much the whole thing.
Mine was probably the first time one of the rabbits died. Probably when Spotty died, because that was really hard to tell Carly, because that was her pet, and I bottle fed that rabbit too, so that was kind of rough. Number 7.
Why do you homestead where you are? Pretty much because it's where we live. We bought this house several years back, and we're just not in a financial place to where we could go buy a farm and set it up the way we'd really like to. It is a dream of ours one day, but right now we're just doing it here because that's what we got to do. I wouldn't really call it homesteading so much as, we have a rabbitry, we grow our own vegetables and stuff like that. But yeah, that's why we do it here. It's because this is what financially we have to.
Yeah. And I think, also both of us grew up here. We were high school sweethearts, so we we live where we live because that's where both of our families are.
And that helps a lot with getting the kids watched and stuff like that. Right.
What is your most valuable or favorite tool to use?
What is your most valuable or favorite tool to use? Well, the most valuable, even though it's one of the cheapest, was probably a set of J-clip pliers because that allowed us to build our own cages. So it's really, without those, it would have been rough trying to build our own cages.
Yeah.
So, and it's a really simple tool, just a simple pair of pliers that crimp J-clips.
Yeah. Mine's probably the tattoo pen or the scales I use to weigh the rabbits. Those are what I use, all the time. I definitely like that we got the tattoo pen versus the clamps for the tattooing because that was a lot more difficult, and the tattoo pen makes it easier for me to tattoo the rabbits for show. Number 9.
What inspired you to start homesteading? Well, this is actually, and I might as well tell this story. We got started in the rabbitry business because I was mowing the lawn and I got into a den of wild rabbits. And I don't know where the mom ended up. I'm pretty sure she never came back. But there was one survivor. And we brought it in and we tried to keep it alive. And it was actually doing pretty well. And then it just up and died. And it made my wife really sad. And it kind of got us on the idea of, well, we could, raise rabbits. I mean, I like eating rabbit. So, I was like, we could raise rabbits. You could do rabbit shows. We could, And so that's just how it kind of kicked off,
Yeah.
So, and now we have 1 million rabbits. It's an exaggeration, but only by a little.
It was actually his idea to do the meat rabbit, so he blames me for having and being addicted to all these rabbits, but...
Well, she is the one that's addicted.
It was his idea to get them in the first place.
Number 10, what is your ideal homestead size?
Well, I grew up on 20 acres with my family, and so I think that would be more than enough land. I enjoyed that. Our house was in the middle, and then we had all the land around us, and we were pretty much able to do anything we wanted. My dad had a garden. My grandparents gardened. I don't know if we really had very many animals besides dogs, but it was enough area for us to play as kids, and I'd like that for my kids because we're kind of in a subdivision, and they don't really have a whole bunch of area to go like run and play.
Yeah. Pretty much anything bigger than what we have right now.
11. What is your growing zone and what is your biggest challenge? So we are in 4B. We're in Arkansas, so it's like depending on, we're kind of like on the border of 4B, I guess, but that's what I go by. And I would say probably the biggest struggle is we have lots of rain in the springtime, and it makes it hard to kind of, if you're doing an in-ground garden, to get it tilled up and get it ready. And then as soon as the rain stops and it becomes summer, it's just 100 degrees plus beaten hot, and then everything dies. So it's kind of difficult in that sense. But that's not every year. That was the last few years though. That's why I like the raised beds. It makes it a lot easier.
The biggest difficulty we face with those are squirrels and foragers.
And our dogs.
The neighborhood we live in, well, dogs aren't so much of a problem now, but the neighborhood we live in is just chock full of squirrels. And so once they find it, it's just a battle.
And they're fat. Like I saw a squirrel have a full-size tomato this big, and it was carrying it up the tree to its little den, and I was like, how is it carrying that? It's bigger than the squirrel. 12 is, what is your least favorite farm chore? I don't know, I do most of them, but he does help me a lot when I'm gone.
The least favorite would definitely be dealing with the massive amount of droppings that you deal with when you have rabbits raised up off the ground. So like shoveling, getting all those little rabbit turds out. Yeah. That's a mess. It can be. So if you stay on top of it, it's not so bad. But if you let it go, if you have to be out of town for a week or something like that, then it can really get crazy.
Pile up.
Yeah.
The poop
Literally.
piles. My least favorite would be definitely dealing with the water bottles in the winter time when it's freezing. Luckily where we are, that's only maybe a couple of weeks or so, and then out of the winter. But still doing all the water bottles, even in the summer, is a chore. It's a pain. But that's part of it. Number 13. What channel or content creator would you like to work with in 2020? So this is more probably a question for me since he does most of the editing.
Yeah.
I don't know if he even watches YouTube.
I watch some stuff.
But I would like to work with some of the people around here in Arkansas that I've came in contact with, like the Haskins family blog. I talk to them quite often anyways. Pine Knot Family Farm. They're here in Arkansas also that I like to talk to them. Maybe Homestead Homemaker. Lindsay's down in Benton. So maybe somewhere close that we can do collaborations. Or maybe not even collaborations, just get to know each other and help each other out and things like that. So 14, what is the worst job that you've ever had?
For me, that would probably be Sonic. And that was mostly because I was a kid and the people there just kind of were difficult. And not saying that it was just a terrible job, but it was just, you know, I don't want to say terrible people, but yeah, terrible people.
I'd probably have to say fast food in general. I worked at Sonic with him. I worked at Red Lobster. Anything that requires you to work with food and people are not going to be satisfied, and it's a very high-stressed, low-paying job. 15, what kind of power do you have, and if you could change it, what would you go with? So.
Well, we have, we're currently on city power. I mean, we live in a subdivision, and so we get our, it's Entergy. And we do gas for our stove and our water heater. Honestly, it is very convenient.
Yeah.
Even if the power goes out, you can still cook and take hot baths because we have gas on those sides. So really, I wouldn't want to change up our setup too much. And if all else fails, we have a fireplace that we can burn wood heat. So I mean, if you look at all of our options, you know. And
solar in Arkansas is not really an option. There's no
benefit
to having solar. It costs way more in the upfront. You would never pay it off.
You would die of old age before it actually paid for itself.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, I don't know. I don't think it's established enough yet to really be a mainstream option, especially when it's cheaper and more efficient for us to use the city electric.
Yeah, and anywhere we would move, like if we built a house, even on his parents' property, there's established power there.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be a big cost to bring in.
I could see the benefit of adding a backup generator for if like the power went down for an extended amount of time, but that rarely happens here in Arkansas.
Yeah. I mean, even if we don't really have snow. If we have ice, it's maybe a week. And I mean, you can go without power for a week.
As long as you have wood burning heat.
Yeah. So, you don't really have to worry about that.
Yep. Well, we'd like to thank, I think I'm pronouncing this right, Sprague River Homestead. Yeah. They reached out to Liz and asked if we do these questions and give our answers. So we would like to thank y'all and say hello to y'all. And we hope you enjoyed the video.
Yep.
Well, thanks for watching Branscum Farm.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. And there will be other homesteaders that are in this collaboration. So it'll be interesting to see what their answers were to these questions.